Gur maithagat Cathaoirleach. Cathaoirleach, this evening we add our voice to all of those in Ireland and beyond in expressing our deep sorrow and shock at the death of Savita Halpanavar. To her husband Praveen and her family, we offer our sympathies and support. We don't know as of yet the precise series of events that led to this young woman's death, and it is crucial that the full facts are established. That's the very least that Savita is owed. The inquiry into her death must be thorough, timely, independent, and must have the full confidence and consent of her husband and family, and of course the broader confidence of the general public. And so, Cathaoirleach, on behalf of Sinn Féin, I move this private member's motion.
Thank you.
The motion itself is a straightforward call for legislation to protect pregnant women when their lives are in danger. It's a call for legislation that gives certainty and protection to the doctors who care for women. And it calls on government to publish the long-awaited report of the expert group to facilitate debate and the speedy passage of this legislation. It is, by any standards, a modest proposal. It's a very reasonable ask of a system that has fudged, prevaricated and failed to act in 20 years. The X case in 1992 determined the very limited circumstances in which a woman might have a termination of pregnancy in this state. That's 20 years ago. And at that time, Mr. Justice Niall McCarthy described the failure of the legislature to enact appropriate legislation governing access to a termination as no longer unfortunate but inexcusable. 20 years on, and the ongoing failure to legislate is nothing short of scandalous. Multiple court cases, rulings by the Supreme Court and the European Court of Human Rights, 2 referendums, and 7 governments later, and here we find ourselves. Pregnant women continue to be left vulnerable as doctors attempt to operate in what they have defined as a grey area. This is not acceptable, not by a long stretch. Pregnant women and the medical profession are being failed by politics, that's the truth. And it is cowardly to allow this situation to persist. It is now necessary that we as legislators make clear our intentions, that we say for once and for all that we will legislate to provide safety, clarity to women and to medics. And this motion provides this opportunity to TDs of all political parties and none to make this clear. Now, all of us know that the issue of abortion can be divisive. People feel strongly, even passionately on the subject. That's to be expected. The opposing viewpoints, typically labelled pro-choice or pro-life, are often pitched in adversarial debate. I suppose that's to be expected too. This motion does not come down on either side of that broader and ongoing debate on the extension of abortion rights. What this motion simply asks is that that which is already lawful and constitutional be defined and guided by legislation. In the words of Dr. Rona Mahoney, Master of the National Maternity Hospital at Holles Street, everybody needs to be protected. The women of Ireland need to be protected. The doctors giving health care need to know that they are also protected in their ability to do their job. Now, I can't speak for all of those that served in successive governments over the past 20 years. I can't be definitive on why they failed to legislate, but I can make an educated guess. I can surmise that they feared what they considered a difficult choice. that they hoped it would go away, that they presumed that their failure to legislate would be consequence-free for women. And they were wrong, wrong on all three counts. Protecting the health and life of a pregnant woman is not a difficult choice. It's the only civilised choice. And the need for this protection will not go away. And the failure to legislate has consequences for women and indeed their doctors. Amendments to this motion tabled by both the Government and Fianna Fáil fall short, far short, of any concrete commitment to legislate. And you have to ask yourself why. It seems to me that 20 years on, and there are still those within this Dáil who will not face up to our collective responsibility as legislators to act in the common good. 20 years on, and the Government's overriding and first instinct is to run for cover, to hide, to fudge the issue yet again. Cahirla, critics of this motion have bandied the words of political opportunism around. It seems that they are happier spouting political abuse than making the political commitment that the women and medical profession of this country need. That commitment is 20 years old. To obey the findings of the Supreme Court, to legislate for the X case, to definitively and finally protect the lives of pregnant women when on those rare occasions their lives are put in jeopardy, to finally and definitively give the legal clarity, the legal assurances that medical doctors require when assisting these women. That is what is needed. That is what is required. The motion asks that the Government publish the report of the expert group and then, with a sense of urgency, move on to produce that legislation. 20 years of inaction and delay. 20 whole years. That must now stop. And every deputy in this Dáil who believes, as I do, that we must fulfil our role as lawmakers, as legislators, as protectors of the common interest and the common good, must support this motion. Government attempts or attempts by others to once again prevaricate and delay can no longer be tolerated and will no longer be tolerated by the women or the medical profession of this country.